Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza. Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza, and this is a reading vlog. All right, so this upcoming week, we are actually going out of town. We are going to DC because we are attending a wedding, and I'm super excited, although I think it's going to be a little bit chilly there. And we are taking the train for the very first time. So I have got ample time to be doing some reading on our way from where we live to the DC area. So I need to make myself a TBR. Where's my phone? Where is anything? Just flying by the seat of my pants. I know that I'm going to be bringing my Kindle, and I have downloaded onto my Kindle Blood Over Bright Haven, and this is by Wang. This is the author of The Sword of Kaigan, which I have not read, but I've heard amazing things about. This is a fantasy novel where it says magic has made the city of Tyran an industrial utopia, but magic has a cost and the collectors have come calling. An orphan since the age of 4, Sionia has always had more to prove than her fellow students. For 20 years, she has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by the mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistry. So we have a magical world with a female girl boss, magic user trying her best to kill a patriarchy. That's what I'm taking from that synopsis. That's what I'm taking from that synopsis. That is what I will have on my Kindle. I am currently in the middle of one book. Let me grab it. That's how I roll. Oh, I'm counting all the zombies. I am currently at the halfway mark. I'm on page 377 of Empire of the Vampire by Kristoff. I am hopefully going to finish this before we go because we have a couple of days before we leave, seeing as how I'm already halfway through. So hopefully I already make it through this one, but I don't know what I want to bring on the train with me to force myself to read. Think I'm gonna choose. I sound like the Swedish chef from the Muppets when I talk like that. These are the books that I think I'm going to bring. Probably change my mind because I'm the moodiest mood reader and cannot commit to anything. I really want to pick up 2 Twisted Crowns. This is the second book in the Shepherd King duology. I think this is the completion of the series. I enjoyed the first book. I will hopefully enjoy the second book. I need to know what happens. The other book I want to pick up is This Thick Boy because I'm going to be sitting on a train for a while. And so why not read A Thick Boy? This is The Mists of Avalon, and this is by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is a King Arthur retelling. I think this one focuses more on the women in the story of King Arthur. I have read the first chapter of this, and it sounds very lyrical and legendary and beautiful, and I'm going to be a captive audience, so why not make some headway on that? But I feel like I'm bringing a bunch of fantasy, and what if I'm not in the mood for fantasy? What if I want to read something scary? I reserve the right to change my TPR for the train. I reserve my right. But before we leave, 1, we have to pack, but 2, my dogs are going to stay with some family while we're out of town, and so they need baths because you can't send stinky dogs to other people's houses. That's just not a thing. It's not nice. Bathe your dogs before you bring them to other people's houses. And so we're going to give my puppy friends a little bath, which should be interesting. It should be an undertaking for sure. All right, as you can tell, I'm back in my backyard. I have gone on a trip and I have returned home, and we had so much fun. We actually went to DC for a wedding. I don't know if I told you that. I haven't looked back at my clip, so there's no telling what book plans I had in the beginning of this. Because if anybody knows anything about me, I'm a moody mood reader. I don't stick to plans. Although I have a new plan of attack for how I'm going to make reading plans. I've been trying to kind of put together something that's going to work for me because I am such a moody mood reader, but I have found that in readathons when there are prompts, I do really well at finding readathon books within the prompts and really enjoying myself. Like I'm multiple people. I still get to be a moody mood reader, but I'm given parameters to stick within, and that helps me make decisions because I will just stare at all my books forever and ever and pick up 1,000 of them and read like 5 pages and be like, I don't think this is right. Also, are they going like absolutely bananas back there? Hey, quit beating up your sister. But I'm here to say that I actually finished Empire of the Vampire. I finished this one. I was about, I think like maybe 50 pages from the end when we left to go out of town. And I didn't want to bring this thick boy with me just to finish up like 50 pages because I knew it wasn't going to take me long. And I didn't want to cart this giant book around with me just for 50 pages. I wanted room for other books. I wanted other options. I also knew I was going to buy books. I finished this one, and I don't think I even told you what this one is about. So this is a very dark, brutal, just awful, heartbreaking story, and I absolutely loved it. In this world, we open up where we are introduced to our main character, who I believe is he referred to as the killer? Yes, he's referred to as the killer in the beginning of this book, and it opens up with him. He has been captured. He is in a tower, and he is going to be interviewed by one of his captors about the story of his life. They want information from him. He is the last surviving Silver Saint, and they want to know about the Silver Saints. They want to know about his life and how he became this epic, heroic figure that is in opposition to them. He is being interviewed, and in this story, you go back and forth from the time when I think it starts when he's like you get a brief, like, I was born, I grew up, and I think he's around 14 years old when he goes into training to become a Silver Saint. But we also jump forward to him as an adult. I believe he's in his 30s. He's been through a lot of war and hardships, and he's on another journey, which his captors are also very interested in. Now, in this world, when our main character, the killer, is a young man, the sky suddenly turns red one day and the sun becomes this very faint light. And so all of a sudden, vampires are able to walk around at all hours of the day because the sun is not strong enough. Plants cannot grow anymore. There's a lot of hardship for the people that live in this world. They're surviving off of like potatoes and mushrooms for the most part. And monsters are roaming the lands and taking over. I would say this book has a lot of The Witcher in it, in that you have our trained from a young age warrior who's hunting monsters, but our main character is not Geralt. This is very, very different, and it doesn't feel like a fairy tale kind of traditional fantasy. This is vampires and murders, and it's gory and it's brutal and horrible things happen. You're absolutely heartbroken by a lot of it. And also, at least in my copy, we have illustrations. This is the first book in this series. I believe the second book comes out in the next couple of months. And I just loved the absolute crap out of this. It's a really thick book. It's a lot to get through. I feel like it's probably not going to be for everyone, but if you like kind of thick, chunky, brutal, dark fantasy books, this was a lot of fun. There's a lot of cussing. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. I mean, we got vampires. There's blood everywhere. I loved a lot of it. I don't know what that says about me, but I had a really good time with this. If you like dark fantasies and you like vampires, why not? It's described as like a gothic bloodbath, and I feel like that is very, very on point. I didn't take that book with me on the train, like I said. So I decided to take 2 books along on the train with me. I wanted to start some new books while I was on the train. And I got a decent way into these. I got 145 pages into The Rune of Kings by Jenn Lyons. I've been trying to read this for a while now. I keep picking it up and putting it down and picking it up and putting it down. I don't know why. I really, really enjoy it while I'm reading it, but I don't seem to just want to keep reading it. I have plans to finish this by the end of the year. I've got another month. I can do it. Once I get into it, I'm really in the groove. I actually started reading this when I was trying to read my 100th book of the year. And this also starts off with our main character imprisoned in a tower. Actually, I think he's in a dungeon. But his jailer is a demon who is a shape-shifting demon. And the demon wants our main character to give his life story. But we also have chapters where the shape-shifting demon, who is currently in the form of a woman, but I don't think they're always a woman. I think they can be anything they want. But our shape-shifting demon also pops in and narrates chapters. And then we also have a third character involved that I'm going to call a narrator because he's adding footnotes. At the very beginning of the story, you kind of have an introduction where he's saying he's reviewing the story to make sure things are being told truthfully or give context. And then a lot of the time there'll be footnotes saying, well, that's not true. This is when this happened. The reason they call it that is because in history, this island was the first one to come up with that kind of, like, it's little tiny, it gives it a lot of character, but it's like little tiny insights into the world, and also about how our demon and our captive are not necessarily the most reliable of narrators as well. I'm really having a great time with it. We have demons, we have magic jewelry, we've already had some sort of like other, are they elves? I don't know, fae creatures show up. We have all sorts of brutal things happening, and we're jumping back and forth from these different points of view to different points in time in this character story. I just need to sit down and read it. I don't know what my damn problem is. Just checking. I hadn't seen you in a while. What are you doing? The dogs are extremely happy to be home. They had a great time at their grandparents' house, but there's nothing quite like being in your own yard, you know? Can we not attack our sister, though? The other book I picked up while we were on the train was The Shining by Stephen King. I recently read my first 2 Stephen King books. I have a whole vlog about it, but this is the book. Whenever I was talking about reading Stephen King books, first of all, everyone has read them all. You're like, oh, I'm reading Stephen King. And they're like, oh, which one? I've read all of them. Could be your 80-year-old next door neighbor. Could be the 20-year-old kid that at work. Like everyone from all ages has read Stephen King, and apparently I was the only one missing out. So after reading my first 2, this is the book that everybody claimed was their favorite. This is the one. I have watched the Stanley Kubrick adaptation. I know there's several adaptations. I think one of them, Stephen King himself was at the helm for that one, and I think it has very mixed reviews. I think it's more of a mini-series. I'm not interested in watching it, but I know that there is a lot of differences between the movie and the book, and I know that that pissed Stephen King off if you listen to what the internet says. But this is the book that everyone says is their absolute favorite. So I got 100 pages into this, and if you don't know the story of The Shining, I'm proud of you for avoiding spoilers for as long as you have. This is the story of it's a story of a family. We have Jack Torrance, who's the father, and he is a complicated character. He loves his family, but he's not the best guy. He has a drinking problem, but he has been sober for several months now. I think it's about 4 months, and he is taking a job at a reclusive hotel. So this hotel is very, very busy during its peak season, but in the off season, when the weather gets crazy and everything gets snowed in, it gets cut off from civilization. So they hire someone to be the wintertime caretaker to keep the boiler running, make sure it's not falling apart, do minor repairs, so that when the vacation season opens back up again, the oven's still warm, so to speak. They can kind of roll back in without having to do any big fixes for things that have happened over the winter months. Jack has taken this job at this very remote location with his family. He's got his wife, Winifred, and his son, Danny, and Danny is 5 years old. And Danny has this thing where he has an imaginary friend that talks to him that sometimes gives him images of things that may or may not happen in the future. This family is headed to the Overlook. Is it the Overlook, or did I make that up? Yes. It's the Overlook Hotel. They're headed there to be stuck there all winter long, just the 3 of them. And this hotel itself has a history. It's creepy, but not a lot so far. Really just we're getting a buildup of all of these characters and kind of learning who they are as people, getting a little bit of backstory of Jack, getting a little backstory of Winifred, and then kind of getting to learn Danny. And you're instantly just sympathetic to Danny. He's 5 years old. He has so much going on in his life. Prior to the opening of this story, Jack has lost his job, which was a very prestigious job. He's a writer, and he's hoping to write some play that he's been working on for a while. But he's not the best. I hate to say it. I mean, he loves his family, but also he's a very complicated character. He's not the nicest. He's done some things in the past where he's been a little bit physically abusive to Danny when he was drinking, and they all kind of look at it as, well, it was an accident, but it was just that one time, remember? Jack is complicated, and it doesn't sound like he's that great. And I have a feeling, well, I know what's going to happen because I've seen the damn movie, but I have a feeling that we're really going to watch Jack unravel once the solitude of the hotel starts to take over. But I'm really interested to see how this differs from the movie, honestly. It's been a while since I've watched the movie, but I remember a lot of it. Ooh. Oh no, I just bented it. You are filthy. Oh my God, you're filthy. I love you, but you're really dirty and nasty. Your mouth is full of dirt. We also, when we were in DC, we went book shopping, which I got absolutely no footage of because I was self-conscious because that place was crowded. I will, when we go back inside, give you a little bit of a book haul of what I got at the bookshop. Have you been digging a hole behind me this whole time? That's fantastic. Try not to judge the mess that is behind me. I literally just got home. But first things first, my Christmas tree got here. We actually did a live Christmas tree last year, but because we're not going to be in town for Christmas this year and we were out of town at kind of around the time we would usually buy our Christmas tree, I decided to get it's a little pencil tree. It should be a skinny little friend. So that way, if in the future we decide to get a real tree again, we can like stick this somewhere and not have to worry about, you know, it taking up a bunch of room. Hold on one second. All right. I actually went to a couple bookstores in DC. I went to, I believe it was called like Prose and Politics, but they were in the middle. They had just moved locations. And so I felt like when I was walking through looking at their selection, a lot of the books they had that I was interested in, I'd already read. And a lot of their stuff was kind of getting moved around and reshuffled because they just got into their location. So unfortunately, I didn't get anything there. But we did make a trip to East City Bookshop, which I was super excited about. And I believe this is a women-owned business. It is the stinking cutest little bookstore. I absolutely loved it, but I didn't get any footage being inside the bookstore because it was so crazy packed in there. And I have trouble enough being perceived. So I didn't want to be that girl that was trying to record a shelf while someone was trying to look at it. But I did end up getting 2 books while I was there. The first book I got was The Hunger of Gods, and this is the second book in this series by John Gwynne. What is the name of the series? The Bloodsworn. I recently read the first book, which is The Shadow of the Gods. Absolutely loved it, had a great time. This is a Norse-inspired multi-POV epic fantasy. And at the end of the first book, there are some revelations that happen, and so I am really, really excited to continue on with this series, and she's a thick boy. The other book I picked up, honestly, I feel like I've heard of this one around, but I don't know much about it other than the name of the book itself, and that is Christmas and Other Horrors, and this is a winter solstice anthology. There is a few authors in this that I've read from before, but plenty of authors that I haven't, and I don't think I've actually ever read an anthology before. Like I was like, there's no way. I've just been living my life and I haven't picked one up, but I can't think of any that I have. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. I love horror anthology movies where you have the overarching story and all the little vignettes, the scary little stories. So I anticipate that I'm going to really, really enjoy this because I'm assuming it's going to give me the same feel, even though it's probably not going to have an overarching storyline. Just all these winter-themed / Christmas-themed horror stories. That sounds like super fun times. I'm totally into that. I picked this baby up as well. They also gave me a little cute books. Oh, I got something else I forgot. Hold on. I didn't get this at the bookstore, but I forgot I stuck it in this little bag. Look at this. It's a little tiny Christmas dog. I thought it kind of looked like cheese because it has like a little nubby tail. One of the things I try to do every time we go to like a small bookstore or an independent bookstore when we are on vacation somewhere is I try to buy some kind of like random merch as well. Because yes, I love buying books, but I also just kind of love having the random merch. And one of my favorite things to buy is coffee mugs. I kind of love the shape of this one. It like fits perfectly into the cup of your hand, but I love it. It's a good size. I love it. I'm gonna drink some tea out of it later. I'm pretty excited. But that's our mini little haul of what I got while we were in DC. And I am now gonna pick up, I think I'm gonna pick up The Shining right now because I was really enjoying that one while I was reading it. And I think it's gonna be kind of a fast read if I just sit down. But I also wanna put this bad boy up right now. So let's do that first. I literally have you're watching how my brain works where I am completely scatterbrained and coming up with 1,000 things I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna put the Christmas tree up and then we'll read. How about that? I think I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to have Mr. Pizza get all the Christmas decorations down out from the attic because he's actually in a meeting right now, but that way I'm not trying to get the boxes down by myself because fun fact about me, I'm very, very short.
I'm not like abnormally short, but I feel like when people like are standing next to me, they're like, oh, you're tiny. And so it's very hard for me to get like our large, like Christmas, Rubbermaid big plastic bins full of Christmas stuff down from the attic by myself, because our attic does a pull down. So I even have trouble like getting the stairs down out of the pull down because I'm so short. The world was made for people that are not my size. How about that? Let's put my Christmas tree up, Let's get in the holiday spirit.
I look fantastic. You should also know that the dogs are at a 25, not even 11. They're at a 25 out of 10. She's especially, I don't know what her deal is. I think she's just happy to be back home, but we are here. I'm trying not to be like in the brightest sunlight ever in the history of the world. This is a bad spot. This is a bad angle. I'm bringing you all the bad angles. Okay, we're here. One, because I got all my Christmas stuff down and we're about to decorate my Christmas tree, and you're coming along for that ride. You're welcome. But also because I have reached the halfway point in The Shining. I'm not going to go into all the differences between the movie and the book. There are plenty of people on the internet who have dedicated so many hours to finding all the nuances and differences between the movie and the book, all the symbolism, all of the things. If you want that, go find it. It's out there. I promise you it's out there. I am going to talk about, I'm feeling really appreciated right now. Thank you. But can we all move on? I am going to talk about the fact that I am really enjoying this, even though it is very different from the movie. I would say the biggest thing that I want to mention is how that this book is really focused on Danny. I mean, it's focused on the family members as a whole. We are jumping from the point of view of Wendy, the wife, of Jack, the dad, of Danny, the son. We get all of their points of view. And I think that is really interesting, kind of watching how this ominous presence is affecting the entire family in different ways and how it's creeping in different ways. Whereas the movie, I know, focuses mainly on the father. The wife and the child are kind of secondary to, my brain just lost his name. Oh my God. Jack Nicholson. Oh my God. In the movie, Jack Nicholson is obviously the main focus and kind of the deterioration of the father. I will also say at the halfway point, we have just gotten to the point where they are actually going to become secluded in the hotel. Even though they have been in the hotel for a while in the story, they have had the ability to get in the car and go to town. They've had the ability to get out of the house and do things, but we have now reached the point where the snow has started and they are going to be stuck in the hotel together. The creepy, spooky imagery, the scary things that are happening have already started, but I feel like they are slowly ramping and they have been given plenty of time to get away, but they aren't really in a position to leave the hotel for various reasons. I will say, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this being my third Stephen King book, and all three books having involved children in some capacity. Pet Sematary, it being the children of the main character. In Salem's Lot, one of the main players in the game is I believe he's like a 12-year-old boy. And in this one, we obviously have the point of view of Danny, who is 5. Stephen King knows how to write kids. He writes these children, because I find that that's one of the things that I nitpick a lot is when people are writing children, they either write children that come across as like too young for the age they have been assigned by the author, or they come across as like overly bratty, or I just have a lot of nits to pick with how people depict kids. And I feel like he does a really good job of making children very insightful, which children are. They're paying attention all the time to things that you would not even think that they would be paying attention to, how they are seeing things through a different lens because they are obviously being exposed to some of these things for the first time. But Danny as a character is reacting to things like a normal 5-year-old would, but also having a lot of insight into what's going on because he is so observant of his parents, because he is so obsessed with his parents' happiness, with them staying together, with him feeling like they love each other. Danny's whole world is his parents, and you get that a lot in this book. And I'm just really impressed with how he's able to make children characters into sometimes the smartest people in the whole damn book. Sometimes the kids are the smartest ones in the whole damn story. But I know this isn't very Christmassy themed, seeing as how we're going to be putting up Christmas decorations. But I've got my, you can't really see it. I've got my Christmas ambiance going on up here. Got our Christmas tree back there. And we're gonna decorate for some Christmas. Oh, you guys are all calmed down and laying down now that I'm finished recording? Have you ever been mad at yourself for how long you waited to do something? That is the question. Have you ever just been like, what was your problem? What were you waiting for? Now that you've done the thing, you're almost mad at yourself that you didn't get to enjoy it sooner. I had so much fun with this. I really, really freaking enjoyed it. And it's my own damn fault that I waited as long as I did to read it. Why did I choose the Christmassy holiday season? Who knows? I'm a conundrum, even to myself. I do feel like it being colder outside also helped with this because, man, is this book cold. There is so much snow. I will say I've already kind of expressed a lot of my feelings on, I think Stephen King is really good at starting ominous creepiness from the beginning and slowly building it, making mundane, everyday things feel very sinister and creepy. I think he does a fantastic job of writing children. I think he does a fantastic job of writing very flawed people. In this book, we differ a lot from the movie. And in one of the ways I feel like we differ the most is the focus. Cheese is a very whiny baby today. She's wearing quite the getup right now. So she hurt herself the other day, and this is my busiest time of year, which is why this video is taking me forever. This is my busiest time of year, and literally right before I left for work, Cheese cut her foot open. It was bleeding. It was awful, and so we had to rush her to the vet. And I'll put a picture of the bandage because they had to put her under to give her stitches in her foot, and she was high as a kite. We are going back today. Today is like when we scheduled to have the bandage change, and last night she removed the bandage herself. She said it's time. So we right now have the most interesting array of things because apparently I don't believe in buying bandages. So I've got to figure out a way. It felt very like if this was the end of the world and you had to MacGyver yourself a bandage that your dog could not eat. How would you do that? I'm pretty impressed with myself. She looks ridiculous. But we're going this afternoon for them to put a bandage back on it. And then hopefully we won't have to keep that bandage on there too long. We have to wear our donut in the meantime, you know? I don't remember what I was saying because I got too distracted because that's how I am working right now. This was great. This was sad. This was creepy. The ending was very different, and it makes me want to go watch the movie so now I can pick it apart myself. Maybe I'll find some of those videos on the internet that tell me all the differences. That would be fun to watch. I'm sure someone very smart has put a million of those things together for me to watch in short form context. But that, kids, is where we are going to end this pizza party. On me realizing that I like Stephen King books now that I've read 3 and had a great time and trying to figure out what my next Stephen King book is going to be. If you know which one I should pick up after this, because this was kind of unanimously the one that everyone was telling me to pick up after I read Pet Sematary and Salem's Lot. Everyone was saying The Shining, but I don't know where to go from here. And don't say The Stand because I am not ready for that. That is too big. I have too many books on my TBR. I refuse to do that to myself. But that gets us where we're going to end this pizza party. If you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there, wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. Did you just fart?